Well, Greg, you want to get
Yep,
started?
we're
Jessica's not here.
expecting Jessica. Andy's not going to be here tonight.
Let me just say, everybody, we're recording the meeting. If you don't want to be recorded, you can leave the meeting, but we're going to start recording the meeting now. Thank you.
Thank you. So I will call the September 28th Jamaica Select Board meeting to order at 7:02. And first thing, ask for any late additions to the agenda.
I have a late addition and can discuss the meeting we had with Forest Parks and Recreation and residents who live on West Wyndham Road about Hamilton Falls issues.
Good. I have two quick little things.
Okay.
One little thing's got to do with kids and traffic on Pikes Falls Road, and the other one has to do with the FEMA, the LHMP FEMA approval.
Okay. I'm going to put the Hamilton Falls and the local hazard mitigation plan down like at 12, 11, or 12 and 13, and then maybe take the kids playing in the road and integrate that into the update on the town roads and paving and the speeding signs in one of those items. Does that make sense?
Sure, I'm easy.
Okay. And then the other, I have one more to add also. We've had a request. Chris Clark asked if we could put on the agenda for his daughter seeking some volunteer work for school.
Yes.
She's seeking to do volunteer work or asking us to volunteer for her work?
No, seeking to do work.
Ah, okay.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
exactly.
And do we want to discuss Halloween? I mean, we can
Sure.
discuss it. We discussed it last time. I know that the fire department is decided not to participate, but we should probably discuss if we would like to make any sort of recommendations to the public or not.
Sure.
We can certainly do that. We'll put
At
that
least a
on.
discussion. I didn't say we had to make a decision, just discuss.
Yep, we'll add that on too.
Okay.
I think that, yeah, okay.
And it's pitch black at 7 o'clock. Oh,
All right. So item number 2, approve the minutes I have from the August 6th and September 14th. Jessica was going to draft up the August 6th. Her not being on, I'm not sure where that is, so we can maybe push that down in the agenda if she just jump in. So I'll
make
take
a motion
on the September 14th.
I'll make a motion on September 14th.
What?
Approve the minutes from September 14th meeting
Do I have
of
a
the
second?
Jamaica Select Board.
Paul, second?
No.
No.
Waiting for the discussion.
Well, we have to second it.
Someone needs a second. It's just us three guys. So
I'll
some-
second
one
it.
of us-
We can go to a discussion.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Couple of quick little tiny things. On page, looks like page 3, number 8. It says John was unable to attend the meeting. They submitted 2 sign-apps. Who are they? Are we talking about? Can we put the they in there?
That makes sense for somebody who's reading this in the years from now. So that would be Eugene Oleto.
Oleto.
I don't recall the name of the company that had.
Is that R&R?
That's R&R.
Okay. But there was nothing in there, so I wasn't. Yeah. Again, for the archives.
Yep.
Then the other item, let me see, there's one more, I think. Hang on a second. Yeah, on number 14, Christopher Robbins put out a request for performance data, and they have received about a dozen replies. Can we put in the phrase on internet speed so we know what the performance data was about?
Yep. That
Again, looking down the road when I'm not here. The next item, let's see. Oh yeah, Jessica, next paragraph. Jessica made a motion to approve the tobacco license that should have been included with the liquor license. Can we say who the tobacco license for? I think it was D&K, wasn't it?
It was D&K's, yeah.
D&K, yeah.
So let's put that in there so we know who that was for. And then next to the last line, it says Joel would like to make a sign with the statement that the select board has made. Do we want to put in what that regarding what, maybe the statement regarding whatever it was that we wanted to make it, just so we've made a lot of statements. I just want to narrow it down to what we're talking about.
Yep, that makes sense. I'm trying to think of what the actual, 5.
Statement regarding hate speech in the
Yeah.
town.
I couldn't remember exactly how it was phrased. You want just statement regarding hate speech?
That sounds fine to me.
That works for me.
Okay.
All right, and then no, next, I think the last one I have, the last page, Paul made a motion to go in executive session to discuss a topic that would be sensitive to the public. Should be to a member of the public, not the whole public.
Yes.
And that's my observations.
So I guess properly, we need to withdraw the motion and then make a second motion to,
I'll withdraw my motion and make a motion to accept the September 14th minutes with said changes.
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Nope. Thank you. Thanks, Paul.
And we're tabling the August 6th, right?
Yes.
Yeah, Jessica's not here.
Haven't seen that, so.
Gotcha.
And then the next item number 3, Rob's on the phone here, or on the meeting. Jessica and I had just discussed very quickly, what our steps are to move forward on this. And I know we are in receipt of some of the documents that Rob sent regarding, actually, they're in the town office right now. I don't have them in front of me, but regarding the ownership of the bridge and things like that. And Jessica was looking further into that. So at this point, unfortunately, I'm not sure what she has found. She is working with our attorney group, and I hadn't heard back from her to know anything further. We obviously are interested in moving forward on this, but I just don't know anything more.
Wasn't there a letter that we received saying that that there's been some communication with Gillies and that his impression was that the bridge belonged to us? Didn't I see that in our mail someplace here?
I hadn't seen any written. I know in the conversation that I had with his office prior to last meeting, that was what their feelings were, but they were going to research that more. And Jessica was also going to look into the, I think it's a formality. I think it's pretty evident that the town does own the bridge, but we don't want to make any conclusions and want to, really, if we're going to make any motions to change anything there, we want to make sure we've got every angle covered.
Sure. Okay.
So I apologize, Rob, for not having any additional information at this meeting. Trust us that we are, taking this seriously, and we do want to move forward.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. When I sent my letter in, I did it electronically as well as snail mail. I included the warranty deed dated 1973. I included the bridge inspections for 2005, 6, and 9, all of which were signed off on by the Board of Selectmen at the time, and all of which indicated the bridge was town-owned. And I also included half a dozen other documents or statements that indicate to me that the bridge does belong to the town. And I have secured the services of a engineer, at least hypothetically. I made a deposit to do a quantification study of the bridge by an engineer, which I would argue should be done before the winter season sets in. It's $900. I've given a check for $470. It would be helpful if the town would assist in that. It's a little embarrassing for me to try to engage an engineer to study the condition of the bridge when it's really not mine. So I just leave you with that thought.
Mm-hmm.
Rob, who did you send that to? I haven't seen those documents. I'm just curious. Did you send it to Jessica or the lawyer?
Electronic letter was sent to the treasurer. It was addressed to Greg, but it was sent in such a fashion that it could be shared with all of the members of the Board of Selectmen. And then a hard copy was also sent directly to the town of Jamaica, to Greg. And in the hard copy, I included copies of the state engineer inspection reports, copies of the deed, and other documentation relative to the bridge dating all the way back to 1972.
Yeah, I believe Terry had put the letter at least up on the shared drive.
Okay,
It was only today that we walked through all the mail, and she was going to put up the other documents, but I'm not quite sure.
Right.
So I apologize for that, for not getting at least the letter portion out to everybody.
The estimate for the bridge was submitted by a company in Dover, Vermont, Renault Brothers. They came up and did a visual inspection and report, which I did provide to the town. And then they said for a more thorough analysis, it would cost about $970. I was suggesting to the board that I would pay half of it, which is $470, which I have paid, and that they share the cost since the bridge belongs, I believe, to the town. And that quotation would be an engineer analysis of the bridge, the concrete and stone abutments, the steel beams, the wooden deck, the wooden railing, et cetera, et cetera. I think the town needs to know what the condition of the bridge is, because it still is open to the public, even though it's limited access to 3 tons and there's a Jersey barrier there. But there's nothing to prevent somebody from walking across, and who's to say, stumbling and falling. The guardrail is broken down, the deck is not in good shape. So I would consider it an attractive hazard that the town needs to take a look at.
Mhm.
So I've paid $470 of the 900 on deposit, but that is insufficient for Renault Brothers to come up and do the engineer study for the bridge. Renault is a local bridge builder and engineer in Dover, Vermont, down near Brattleboro.
They did,
They're highly qualified.
They're
do
a very
lot of
good
work
company,
for
yeah.
they did Bridge 32 on Route 30.
They did. Okay, Joel, that's very helpful. I
Yeah.
assume they did a good job. They seem very professional to me.
Yep. I think that makes sense, but I'm a little reluctant to move forward anymore without the advisement of our attorneys.
I understand.
Not necessarily Jessica, but I mean, because she's
Yeah.
not our official attorney, but she was
And
working with them. And not
Yeah.
having any report there, I don't feel we can move forward, unfortunately, right at this meeting.
And I sent the electronic letter to you, Greg, and also to Jessica, because I obtained her email address from the town treasurer.
Right.
So she should have gotten an electronic copy. And like I said, the hard copies are all available at town hall.
I'm looking at it. Yeah, Terry did put it up online, so I'm
She
looking at
did,
it.
okay.
Yep.
It's, you know, I gave 8 different examples of why I believe the bridge belongs to the town. There are more, but I figured 8 were sufficient, in particular
think so.
because under 2, the Vermont bridge inspections for 2005, 6, and 9, which have been signed off on by prior boards of selectmen, list the bridge over Bull Mountain Brook as town-owned. So it's, the state considers it a town bridge.
Paul,
Yeah, I guess I'm less concerned about the ownership. I suspect that we will find that it is in fact a town bridge. My
sure.
concern is the advantage to the town of Jamaica to give that up. It seems to me in some of the literature, and for whatever reason, my computer is not working. I can't draw it up right now, but I remember reading that one of the comments was made, and I believe Joel is the one who brought this to our attention, that WRC suggests that we not give up. Joel, can you speak to that?
Yeah, that's, I'm sorry, I forget his name all the time, the guy at WRC. He did a presentation to the Transportation Committee.
Jeff Nugent.
Thank you. And he said that towns are remiss in giving up trails and access because of future development. that if you give it up, you can't get it back. And if somebody wants to build some houses or a new development or whatever there, you won't have access to that. So he was pretty strong about that.
Yep, and even for the sake of, it's owned by the town and the public, and we shouldn't be giving away that. I mean, one other option that was thrown out there is that we work through some agreement that the upgrades are done to the bridge, but we still retain ownership of it. But those are all things that I'd like to hear some advisement from our attorneys on.
Right, the public does have access to the property. The Sage Hill Bridge gives direct access across the brook to the property. The town has downgraded the road that used to be part of my access to a trail, so it's no longer maintained. But people go in there on a regular basis. It's not posted. I have made no effort to keep people out. And that gives people full access to the whole property. So the value of the Rawson Bridge to me is that it allows me to selectively cut and manage the timber crop on the east side of the property without pulling the logs up over the ridge line, which is economically unfeasible. But the town still has complete access to the property through the Sage Hill Bridge, which is a new bridge, modern and built according to the most recent standards.
Yes, so I think we don't have enough at this point to
Sure.
go anywhere further tonight.
I appreciate it. As you know, I served as first selectman in my hometown of Stonington here, plus I was second and third selectman. So especially now with the COVID issues, I get the problem, and I appreciate that. And I've owned the property since 1965, so I've been around for a while. I'm very patient. And,
Okay, well, I get frustrated too sometimes, not with this process, but just how many little pieces there are to every little thing.
Right. Well, I appreciate the courtesy you've extended to me, all of you, and I appreciate the interest you take in my issue. So I thank you for that.
Okay, thank you. We'll stay in touch.
Okay, thanks. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Rob.
Thanks, Rob. Thanks for coming in.
Thank you very much. Take care. Good night.
I mean, I could say, I'm looking at this document, one of these things is town owned, right there in bold. So I don't know. I hear what you guys are saying about the other stuff, but
Yeah, I mean, I guess Jessica was just kind of taking the lead on the, with me, just in the conversation with Paul Gilly's office, and I
Yeah.
haven't talked to her in a week, so I just don't know if there's been anything more.
and
So,
I did text her
okay.
and she has, I did text her asking if she's joining us and she did not respond. So I don't know if she's tied up with something, who knows?
Okay, yeah, well, we can, it's
Yep,
on
I'm
the
just
agenda
saying.
for next time. So item number 4, update and discussion on the R&R signs. John, unfortunately, wasn't able to attend tonight's meeting again, but he has forwarded me some, an update. He had sent out an email and I think left a message too with Eugene and also his office assistant this morning about where they were at. As far as, our understanding was that they were going to be transitioning and taking down those signs. And it doesn't appear there's been any action on that at all. So John's tact up until now was to be very negotiable, I guess. I mean, not necessarily negotiable, I don't know, amenable to, a gentleman's agreement type thing of moving forward. And it just doesn't seem like that's, at least in my perspective, it doesn't seem like that's moving very rapidly. So I'm getting frustrated too. And I sense certainly a number of the members of the board were feeling that same thing at the last meeting. So it is what it is right now. And I think they're not in compliance right now. So, and they've been told that they have submitted an application for new signage that has been approved, but it's not what's there now. So I don't know what's taken. John was asking for some timeline and has not gotten that.
Perhaps we should set the timeline and should backdate it to when they started telling us it was going to be happening.
Certainly. Yeah, yeah.
It's just at the point now where it's been delayed. We're now into October for all practical purposes. It's managed to suffer through the whole summertime, and we have not had any visible compliance,
Hmm.
regardless of
Yeah,
how
I
nice
concur with that.
he's been.
Yep. Yeah, me too. Me too. Yep.
Well,
There's no, I mean, there's no, you know, we've got to give the ordinance as much teeth as it can get. And if we're just letting people kind of, you know, run over it, then we're going down a deeper hole, I think.
so are you saying that John is going to approach him with a fine or something, or?
Well, I think John was hoping to have some guidance from the board. And that would be one of the options for sure. Because he's been trying to, you know, work it out on a gentleman's terms, so to speak, and it just hasn't
Yeah.
gotten anywhere.
So
I mean, I
perhaps-
support, go ahead.
Go ahead.
Go
No,
ahead.
I
Paul.
support that. If since there has been no action, he has been spoken to. They made a commitment, if I remember correctly, that, oh, in a couple of weeks, we'll be putting up new signs, and they
Right.
never followed through with that. So yeah, we need to address that. I mean, and I think a fine is within reason.
So
Yeah.
the members of the board are the sign ordinance board. So the three of us,
Correct.
that's all that's left right now,
Right.
can move to inflict the ordinance punishment for failing to comply. And my recommendation would be to backdate it back to the summer when we were first told it would be done in 2 weeks. We just need to research the literature to find out exactly what date that is. But I'm inclined to backdate it till then.
I would see that too. I mean, certainly in some of my recollection, I think I agree that we should really make sure we know what the date was, but it was back in early August or so, late July, when the real meat of the discussion started. They initially threw them up there and you know, but soon after that, it got a little bit more formal and said, you need an application, and that took some time. And then when they finally got it, they, you know, the whole long process. I fully support that too.
On just one little side topic, just to make sure we're all on the same thing, Bob is going to talk to us tonight. He's going to reference state law about how we as a municipality can establish and enforce regulations. We'll talk about that when we get to Bob, but this is clearly within our bailiwick. We have an ordinance, we have the regulations, we've set the fee scale and the punishment scale. We just need to enforce it.
I agree with that.
We wanna
I'll make a motion that we, what would the motion be? I make a motion that we instruct the sign administrator to enforce the sign ordinance as written and to fine what is it?
Backdate it.
Yeah, well, who are we fining? Is it Eugene directly, or is this corporation?
It should be, I believe.
R&R?
Each of the
R&R,
ordinances were done under a separate company name, so to find
right.
each of the applications were
Each of
done
the
by-
applications that have not fallen to compliance, and backdate those fines to when the violations were identified by the sign administrator.
Yes.
I would second that.
Any
I'll
further
second that.
discussion?
We
All
only
in
need,
favor?
we only need to make sure we've got the dates. We'll have to research that to get the
Yeah.
date. But you're exactly right. Yes. All in, oh, sorry.
All in favor? Yep. All in
Not yet.
favor of the motion, as Tom has said.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? No. So unanimous, three to none.
Yes.
Thank you. I agree. Let's get it moving. Okay, on to number 5. Now, Bob's point. Now Bob has the floor to review the false alarm ordinance.
Everybody read it, had a chance to review the copies that we posted?
Yeah.
All right, if you want, I can quickly run through it, just to cover some areas. There were some questions that came up that I got to right away today, and I also forward that email out to you, which was State Statute 24. Did you guys receive that also in your emails? That was today. Probably about 3 o'clock. I sent it out at 3:30.
Yep.
Get one.
I hadn't seen that, but I know it's there. So I guess, I mean, and you've mentioned it in the ordinance.
Thank you.
It's a very brief statement saying basically we can do it.
Yeah, yep.
So as you see, I've got a nice title page. This is the Town of Jamaica regulations of private fire alarms and security gate systems. Jamaica permit handbook, if we have one to put these into, or whatever title you guys wish to have. Page 2, Town of Jamaica regulations of the private fire alarms and security alarm gate systems, adopted by the Board of Selectmen to be signed off. I put everybody's name on there. The effective date down the bottom, and I also included Sarah down there is dating it since she's the clerk that we filed with her. The authority for, which is the Vermont 24 VSA 1971B, which is at the very end of my report, which is what I mailed you guys this afternoon. As you see, there's a statement of purpose, definitions, prohibited alarms, false alarms, preventable alarm procedures, service charges, fees and collections. There's registration of automatic fire alarm systems, registration of Knox boxes, registration of security gate systems, audible on-site alarms, notification and leaving the scene, recommendations, your enforcement, your compliance, liability of the town, and the severability. So with those all being said, I guess, you guys have read through it all. Is there any questions particularly? I know Andy had mentioned at the last meeting about fines and stuff. That was in there. That was broken down pretty good. Whether you guys agree with those or not, that's, that's open for
Yeah.
discussion.
My question is, how do we communicate this out to the residents? I mean, we could put it on the website.
Well,
I could see a situation where people say, "Oh, what's this?" I didn't know anything about that. I'm just saying, how, is there going to be some sort of, I'm almost like a marketing campaign to
think of that.
I say that almost facetiously, but some kind of way that we need to communicate this. And if it is a new ordinance, we do have to post it at the post office and such for, the whole process it goes through for 3 months. But I just think, something to think about how we could get this out so people really know what's going on and they're not surprised when they, do the false alarm and owe $200.
Well, the proceedings would be, we're going to have to vote on this in March if it's an ordinance. So we're going to have to do the following. I mean, like you said,
No, we don't.
I don't think so. No, I think
No,
the process
not
is we have to warn it. And I don't know exactly what it is, but we have to give 30 days notice for public appeal or public comment. And then we can then, as a board, adopt the ordinance. Similar to when we did the sign ordinance or the town plan or any of those types of things.
And then it goes into effect, I think it's 60 days after. So that the public has 60 days then to challenge and petition us to do more. And then at that point, it goes into law. And that's usually how that will be in the ordinance that we approved it on the state, and it will go into effect on this state. So we do need to.
Those things are, but there's actually a fairly documented script of how to adopt a new ordinance.
So I believe we have to post it in 5 locations in town. And again,
do we do we not open it up for public comments?
That has to
then
be
have a
process,
meeting,
yes.
a public meeting to adopt it.
So what we do is we I believe the process is we post it and then warn it and put it out and for people to see. And if people want to look at it and they want to get engaged with it, they can, and then they can come in and ask questions. Then we are allowed to vote on it. At that point, we post it all over town and say, this is an ordinance that we passed and it's going into effect in 2 months. If you want to go, if you want to have a discussion, they got to get a petition and petition. So many people have to sign the petition. I forget what it is, 10% of the voters. And at that point, it would go back to discussion. I think that's the process. So
yeah, I don't know what that is either. My suggestion would be that we run this by, Bob and the rest of the crew there have done a really thorough job putting it together, but we still probably should run it by the attorney just to make sure that we're not getting into some deep water somewhere. And then initiate the adoption process and not knowing what that is, but just to say, we're going to start that process. There's a lot of steps to it that, like Tom said, it takes a couple months.
Well, we could
Yeah.
we could ask the attorney to outline our next legal steps to make sure
Sure.
we're in line with everything. we're
Correct.
doing.
Right.
Yep. Yep, that makes sense.
Yeah, Bob.
In the ordinance, in my ordinance proposal, it also mentions that that we start recording the deficiencies or where does it say? I guess it's not the word I really want to use, but violators, I guess, as of first of the year starting. So I'm looking for something probably starting as first of the year. Then we can start the clock going for those who are in violation or those who have to be fined or anything with the ordinance. So that'll give you plenty of time from now, probably to the first of the year, to have it looked at by the attorneys, have your public discussions and all that stuff. I'm in favor of that. I was going to start the clock really till first of the year because they suggest that in a proposal to start as of January 1st. And that's the way we can record it because we keep track of all our incidences on a year-to-year basis, starting as of January 1st. So the documentation on our part is fairly easy and stuff.
Yeah,
Just what
I
we
would
wanna
imagine. I would imagine you've got some record of these violations up until now too, and that could be a starting point for communicating. Like Tom said, we've got this part of our marketing plan or whatever to get the word out is to go out to all those people
Well-
that have alarm systems in place, and certainly the ones that have had false alarms.
So I'm just looking at the law real quick. I mean, and granted, I'm just skimming it over, but it appears what we need to do is have a first reading. If we pass the ordinance, then at that point, we schedule a special meeting that basically is a hearing where the public is invited. We publish the full ordinance so that the public has access to it. And then we have this meeting. At that meeting, there's opportunity for public to comment. And then at that point, we can vote for final passage. And then after the hearing, we can amend it if we wanted to at that point.
Does it look like there's enough time to get that done before the 1st of January, or does this slide into the spring?
I think we get it done. Yeah. I mean,
I would think so. I mean, I don't recall. I remember.
I don't know.
30-day period.
I'll look through this some more and see. It is somewhat drawn out. So I'll have to.
Well, I think Paul suggested, it makes sense that,
Oh, that might be.
forward this along to the attorneys to review the proposed ordinance, but also to, take their guidance as far as making sure that we know that we're doing this right.
Okay.
Just
Yeah,
to cover our butts, because as soon as we start finding people, we're gonna have a problem.
Someone's going to pull up every little.
Correct.
Exactly.
But we've done this before with the sign ordinance, so we've gone through this process. We've obviously have gone through many processes with all the other ordinances that the town has passed. So in the past, I'll do a little research and get back with you, Greg.
Yeah. Okay.
And
Yeah.
then if you want to
I'll
talk to the
wait till
lawyer,
this
we can
feedback,
talk to the
any
lawyer
feedback,
too.
but, well, I'll prepare to, after I hear your comments, Tom, or what you found, but forward this along to Paul's office and get it going in that sense. Do we?
Yeah, when that ordinance that law I was looking at seemed to be for the town of Shelburne, not for general. It said town of Shelburne, so that may be a special law in Vermont because they have a lot of development up there.
Right. I think we probably should make a formal motion that we're moving forward with the adoption of this, or starting the process. I think that makes sense. Or maybe technically we don't need to do that.
I don't think we need to do that until we find out what we need to do. So I would think at the next meeting, we would be ready to act on what we needed to do.
Yeah, okay. So
That
the
would
goal
probably
is to
make
have
sense.
this off to the attorney with comments back before the next meeting.
Right, and then at that point, we would approve it and then, or post it or do whatever we need to do. And if we needed to call a special meeting, then we call a special meeting and have public, and that may be a good way to advertise it too, is to say, we're gonna have a special meeting, a hearing on this. Come on out and let us know what you're thinking. And, then it gets a little bit more on people's radar than than if it wouldn't. And I can ask Jackie to throw something in the newsletter too. I mean, potentially, just to say, hey,
once we know
we're considering a false alarm ordinance, and we'll be talking more about it in the coming months,
Yep.
Because people do read that.
Whichever one of you contacts Gilly's office, can you kind of put in another paragraph, just making sure we as the municipality can inflict, let's use the word inflict, a fine,
Assess.
assess a fine. better
Assess a
word,
fine.
Or inflict works.
Inflict is good, yeah.
For something that is involving the fire department. I read the state law and it looks like we can do that, but the state law isn't clear because it makes it look like that's a violation of an ordinance of a municipality. I guess I'm wondering if there's if there's just enough space between a municipal entity and a private function like the fire department that makes that complicates it. I just have this fantasy that there's a complicating factor, and I'd like to have Gillis or somebody weigh in on that.
Yeah,
Okay.
that makes
makes
sense.
sense.
It is a little different, and every time there's something different, it's
Exactly.
Okay, that makes sense. All right, great. Thanks, Bob. Anything else does that make sense to you?
Oh, I'm fine with that. We're progressing. That's the good part.
Okay,
I appreciate all your help.
well, thank you. Thanks.
Can
No
I,
problem, Bob.
before Bob goes, before you go, Bob,
I'm not going anywhere.
that's the spirit. Hang in there. I was gonna ask you if there's anything you wanted to say about the cistern system.
Well, right now it's been slow going. I know our water's getting down much more. I've been waiting more for Troy to get back to me. I need to get back to the concrete people themselves. I've talked to a couple of contractors locally who are maybe of interest, so I just got to pull more stuff together here. I've laid out the backyard where the 13 tanks would be installed. You're more than welcome to come over and see the center line of it, what we're proposing. I just need to know how deep we need to go with those tanks. Even though they're 6 foot deep, 6 foot depth tanks, I don't know if we need to go much below the surface of their, if they don't freeze. So I need to talk to the concrete manufacturer who supplied the tanks to get a little more detail on that. I want to still put together at least an estimate, a good rough estimate of what it's going to cost to do this project and stuff. I need to get back to Todd. So, Troy Dare, who's with the natural resources people, and kind of get a permanent design or final design of what we're really looking for. So it's still ongoing at this point.
That too is moving forward.
Yep.
Great.
Super. Thank you. Thanks.
You're welcome.
Okay, on item number 6, Lou had forwarded the an errors and omissions report, and I believe, I thought he was going to be here, but I don't believe he needs to be. I had sent that out. There's 2 parcels that have they're requesting to change their values of. One goes up slightly and one goes down slightly. I think it's pretty clear. Hopefully everybody's read what that is.
I have. I just really think Lou needs to present it, to be honest. I know it delays things a week or 2 weeks, but I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know,
I can
whatever
accept
your
it.
opinion is on that. I just think that Lou, as the lister, should come in and say, here's what we're trying to do, rather than here's an email. And I don't know.
It does appear that since this is obviously a financial act here, we're going to be
Yeah.
acting on making a motion that the party who's requesting it ought to be available to answer questions.
Correct. Yeah.
Okay. I
So
can
even
live
if
with that.
even
I
if
mean,
it appears straightforward, yeah. I
yeah,
don't
it
know what-
appears right, exactly. And I would think we can move on it, but there's certainly no harm in tabling it till the next meeting either.
I would say we table it.
Yeah.
Plus, we don't have many board members here tonight, so we're a small group too. So
Okay, works for me.
All right, so we'll table that. And then I did have there, I think I usually throw in there an update on Communication Union District. I don't believe, obviously they're moving forward on a lot of different things. Without Chris here, I have nothing to present on that either, so we can move on to number 8.
Wait, before you leave,
Sure.
did you all get the letter that was sent to us? Regard,
Oh, from Chris?
my computer is just not working for me very well, but to paraphrase it, it sounds as though it is not going well. in the sense that some of the bidders didn't look like they were going to be able to accomplish the mission. And so there was some hesitancy to go forward. If you read that letter that he sent out to us, which I can't pull up on my computer for some reason, but you guys must have got it. It was just not too
I
long.
just got it today. I did not read it today.
Yeah.
I didn't get a chance to read it.
He sort of paraphrases the letter coming from, I don't know, the state or whatever. And it does not sound terribly optimistic, but certainly not ready to act on it right now.
Yeah,
But
Okay.
at any rate,
did not
just to
see
let you
that.
know.
So, but yeah, I mean, it did sound like there were some hurdles and a lot of lane changes, I guess.
Yeah, and I've had a number of people reach out to me because of all this Xfinity stuff coming in and saying, "Hey, what's going on?" So I've tried to get that information out to people about where we're at, and I said we're years away from any sort of broadband,
Yeah.
universal broadband through the CUD. But here's the website. Here's where you can get the information, and you got two choices. You got Xfinity or Comcast. That's really, unless you want to go satellite, Hughes or something like that.
Yeah.
But really, there's two options. So see where it goes.
If you
Yep.
want, I just found and pulled up his comments. This is from Chris. If you want, I'm looking for. I don't want to read the whole thing, but when you read it, he says they'll be glad to discuss it at this next select board meeting if you want, but it's not necessary if you think the letter speaks for itself. And I believe the letter does speak for itself.
Yeah.
But that's dated the 25th, so it's a fairly recent letter to us.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I did not see. I had some email problems last week, so I'll ask them to resend it. So, but that probably should be brought more to the forefront too, so everybody's aware of what's going on.
Certainly nothing's moving
Okay.
forward quickly.
Nothing's moving at this point, right?
Jessica will be joining us shortly, she said.
Okay.
She's texting me.
So actually, we'll move to number 8, just an update on the town road paving projects. I believe, short of maybe they're still doing some stuff up in Wyndham, which I haven't been up there, but I believe the projects are done. There's been the next step is actually to have the crosswalks painted, and I know Terry's looking into whether or not the state will come back and repaint the lines. Paul's giving a thumbs up, so that's good.
Terry said they will repaint. They just haven't given us a date yet.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, and the roads look great.
Yeah, and on that, I had some communication with the district about repainting it, and we're going to put off the speed test for another week or so to give them time to put the paint down. Failing that, she says, she didn't think the paint's going to hurt the tubes too much anyway, but we're going to delay the speed test to give them time to do the painting till we get something definitive.
Okay, yeah.
That's the part there on Pikes Falls.
Yep. And the other part, kind of maybe evolving, well, I'll save that to the next, well, I guess we can loop items 8 and 9. The speed signs have arrived, the electronic
Nice.
speed signs. They are, the permit has been submitted to the state, to VTrans, for the locations on Route 30. It was actually fairly clear where they needed to go, partly from the standpoint of where the speed changes, and also where they're not going to be intrusive in someone's front yard, and where they're they're going to get good sunlight for the solar and all those things. So one will be down, coming from the south, will be in front of the Masonic Hall. There will be one then coming down into town. I'm not sure exactly where it is, but near where the fire station is there, and the road up to the transfer station.
But didn't we say we're not doing Route 30 right away? I thought we bought 4 signs. We said we were going to do 1 on Pikes Falls. We were going to do 2 on Water Street, and we had 1 extra one.
I believe Route 30 was a priority, and that the only potential delay to that was actually just going through the process of getting the permits and whatnot that we need from the state.
Okay, that's not how I understood it.
Were we not going to put one on Depot Street?
We're going to put 2 on Depot Street, 1 in each direction. And then we're going to put 1 on Pikes Falls, and then we bought an extra one. So maybe we need to buy another sign. So
Well,
we have 5
the other thing,
signs.
and before we maybe jump to that, the other locations haven't been determined yet.
Okay.
I would like to to form a committee, I would recommend that Keith, obviously, and Lexa as the road commissioner, and maybe one or two of us, and I don't know who else, maybe I don't want to get too big or anything, but I want to be a cross-functional group about where the other ones go, because there's, somebody's not necessarily going to want it in their front yard.
Right.
It's got to have good sight lines. It's got to be in a place where it's going to do the job. And one thing that I've thrown out there, and I mean, maybe it makes sense or not, but to have 6 locations identified, and we've got 2 signs and 2 on Route 30, and maybe they're not always all in the same place, and that we move them around a little bit. It maybe surprises people at some points, which is great. We gather data, more locations. And as an example, coming out of the state park all winter long doesn't make any sense. So
Correct, that is true.
a sign somewhere else and that kind of thing.
Yeah, I think going down the hill on Depot Street is imperative.
Yeah.
I think that's really, even in the winter, people come flying around that corner.
Oh,
going
I
down
totally
there.
agree. Yeah. And I
Yeah,
think
even if they're
a small
skiing
group
or
of people to walk around and literally get out on the street, because, logically you say, sure, put one there, but then all of a sudden, there's a tree there, there's the sidewalks there, you got to have it, not right in somebody's window. I mean, there's a lot of little nuances to
Good
those
luck.
things.
I mean, good luck on Depot Street because you have all the houses there. So I
Right,
mean,
right, exactly.
If
So
someone's going to have it in their window, I think that's just a reality, that there's no way to really avoid that. Now, I've walked that street a couple of times and looked, kind of, said, okay, we could put it here,
Right.
and there are kind of spaces between houses, and you have Travis's there between Travis's and the 3 Mountain Inn. But then Hazel's across the street. Does she want, but she's only here half the year. So, I mean, it's that type of thing is,
yeah.
can we make everyone reasonably happy? And hopefully
No.
we can. So
We won't.
well, maybe we hope.
And maybe
but
that's
I'd
the
be-
upside of moving them a little bit. Maybe then there's a sign that's there every other month or something like that. And
How mobile are they though? I mean, are they?
well, there's a post. I can't remember what it's called. Keith knows the name. I mean, you basically set a footing for it, and then you can
Yeah.
slide the post into it, and you pull them out.
Okay.
You move it. I mean,
Oh,
they're
okay.
quite heavy and cumbersome. You'd need equipment to do them. So we're not going to switch around every other day, but it's totally doable.
Okay. Well, I'd be willing to be on that. I'd be willing to talk with, meet with Keith and stuff. I'm around during days.
Sure.
I can get off of work for a little bit and go do it. So,
I'd
or
volunteer.
Paul, you want to do it? Whatever. Yeah,
Yeah.
whatever.
We've been.
Yeah, well, I think two
Andy-
people,
it's-
and then
Andy
Keith
has-
and Lexa. I mean, having 4 people in the group, that you get a diverse group there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Andy might want to be part because it's really right in his front yard, literally. So, I deferred to, if others want to be on it, that's fine. I just want to see it move forward.
Right.
Okay.
Okay.
So I will get in touch with Keith and Lexa, and we'll get a group going.
Super.
That makes sense. I think it does, and we'll get them up as soon as we can.
Okay.
Good. Paul, did you want to add in here what you had brought up earlier as far as?
Yeah. I'd had a couple of observations and a request from some other people. Now that we've paved that section of road between South Hill Road and Route 30, that now that it's paved and it's nice, it's become a playground. And the complaints have had to do with kids playing in the road, putting up cones, stopping traffic, and basically, I personally drove by one time and the kid was pushing his bike across the street, totally oblivious to me. It's as if it's become a playground. Putting cones, even though we've been tolerating it earlier in the season, putting them right there make it extremely difficult for traffic making the corner, coming off of Route 30, turning on to Pikes Falls. There's cars parked on both sides, which makes it blind for a little kid stepping out of the car, out of the side of a car into the traffic. I'm not sure exactly how we handle it, but we need to get the word to the public that that's not a playground. The kids need to not play in the road.
Yeah,
And that's strictly a safety issue. And I noticed it, but didn't occur to me to bring it up until other people said, we got to do something because it's getting dangerous now.
Yeah, and we're taking a lot of steps. I mean, maybe not, you're never going to solve everything, but we've taken a lot of steps to try to reduce the speed, make things safer there, and we need the cooperation from.
Yeah, I agree with that. But I tell you right now, with the road is now paved and it's higher because it was right outside Jackie's house and it's way up. And cars with the smooth road, they took the bump out below right by Polly's. They're just going to fly down South Hill and go around that corner at 80 miles an hour because there's no, before that road was really nasty and it was really bumpy and now it's not. And I think that's, we've talked about any kind of speed abatement coming down the hill. And we've always kind of said that's a very tough situation when, because it's a hill and obviously in the winter it becomes a challenge. But I think that's something we need to, even signage, again, putting the sign, town ahead, thickly settled, whatever.
No, we could put a speed sign up there
Because
for a few months.
Well, put the speed
put a
sign.
speed sign up there maybe, because I just
Absolutely.
think, like I said, driving back and forth there, which I do quite a bit, it's just a racetrack now. And I can just see people coming around. Yeah, great. I can get a good speed coming down and go right around that corner and it's a lot of fun. And, then a kid's sitting out in the middle of the road. So that's a concern. That's a big concern. And I mean, we need to keep the roads up to date. We need to keep them paved. But I know. So, I think we need to think about that.
Yeah, I think it's.
And I think part of that is
sign.
part of that is keeping it from being a playground too. But part of it's also our responsibility to say, how can we mitigate speed coming down when the road's really good?
Yeah, well, putting the sign up there, it's a perfect spot for one. And
Yeah.
see what it's, get people to slow down. Hopefully, if not, at least we know what's going on and then know that we need to take more aggressive steps.
And ultimately, when you get right down to it, and I've had this argument a couple of times, behavior of the kids is the responsibility of the parent. We need to
Correct.
make sure everything is signed appropriately, follow the rules, but you got to take responsibility for your kids' behavior. Absent that, it's seriously dangerous down there.
Yeah.
So anyway,
And I think it's, like I said, I think it's more dangerous than it was with the new pavement.
perhaps.
Yeah.
Right.
Faster.
Do you think, anybody think that some communication is necessary just to not reinforce, but restate the dangerousness of the whole, everything there that,
Restated in what way?
people on the street
Greg?
there or anybody? I don't know. They should know. It should be obvious that it's a dangerous place.
Well, I have a
Yeah.
thought.
That nothing can be in the road and that kind of thing.
I have a thought. One of the things we could do now that we've done what we can to improve the quality of the road, we've got the signs at least ready to be put up. We've done a lot. Maybe it's time to bring the families together sometime online or in a widely spaced room and say, here's what we've got. What can we as a community do to help you make sure your kids don't get killed? Not we're going to prevent it. We're going to help you to prevent it.
Right.
So
I
we're
think that's a good,
Sure.
yeah, I think that's a great conversation. Have a special meeting
Sure.
just to discuss the speeding and we lead in and saying, here's what we've done. I think that's a great idea, Paul. Here's what we've done, but we all need to work together still. Because just because there's a sign with a radar gun on it doesn't mean necessarily everybody's going to slow down.
right.
And we can put as much signage up, we can put bumps up, we can do grooves, whatever, but there's still going to be people who don't care. So, but I think having the conversation and being open about it and, bringing in the people on Pikes Falls, bringing in the people from Depot Street. I think Water Street, we get some speeding through here, but it's not as bad as those streets.
Right there in
Talk
that
about
corner.
the residents in Route 30, because obviously there's a lot of signs been put up on Route 30. I think it's a great idea.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So
But I think we have to be done. I think the signs need to be up. I
signs
don't think
up,
we can do
painting
that
done.
prematurely.
Yeah. Get the painting done.
Yep.
You get everything set. Get our part of it done. So we're talking
Okay.
about here's what we've done, not here's what we're going to do.
We should, it's an ongoing conversation because some of this, like you mentioned, we've done a lot, but there's still could be more and some of this might not work at all. We never know.
Well, we hope it does. Yeah, but you're right.
Right.
Okay, good. Let's do that.
Okay. I didn't have anything more on that, on either one of those items that, I guess we'll go on to item number 10, unless anybody else had more on the paving, parking, speeding, item number 10 was discuss the banner location and signage. Just what I was going after there is in our meeting on August 6th, we had voted to help find a location to hang the banner that says hate does not grow well in the rocky soil of Vermont, or something of that nature. It's not been the easiest thing to try to figure out. V-Trans does allow signage above the roads for certain periods of time with proper application and all that kind of stuff, with 17 feet above the road, blah, blah, blah. But the Green Mountain Power, or not Green Mountain Power, Green Mountain Power does not allow banners on their utility poles. And that does make a lot of sense. They don't want things potentially wreaking havoc with the electrical grid and people climbing up in there and getting entangled in the wires and blah, blah, blah. So we are still in the search process of finding a location. I know Joel and Karen have been involved with this too. But as of now, there's still a work in progress. And I just wanted to bring that forward to the board, that we haven't gotten very far yet.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's that, unless anybody else had others or had a great location. But I know the guy from Green Mountain Power is a local resident too, and he's keeping his eyes open for other potential options too. So, all right. Item number 11, discuss hiring of the transfer station alternate. Last week we talked about this briefly, and I know Jessica and Tom were going to work on that. I'm not sure if there's anything further to report.
Well, we met with Warren, so we did do one interview, and we can talk about that. Nora, who was the second person, basically found a full-time job and she backed out. So she said,
Okay.
I don't think I'll be willing to do it. And the third person, I forget his name.
Yeah, I do too.
I called him, Jessica called him, he never got back to us.
Okay.
So I don't know if we have the wrong number or what's going on with that. So, but Warren, he seemed to really want to do the job. There were a couple of concerns.
But do we want to, I thought we said we would do this in executive session if
You
we were going to
want to do it in
discuss
the
it
executive
today.
session? That's
We're
fine.
gonna
We can do
go
that.
further. Yeah. Okay. Yep.
Yeah.
That makes
Yeah, we
sense.
can talk about the executive session. That's fine.
Okay.
okay.
Yeah. if
But
there's
that's so that he's the only person we've talked with. So it wasn't as fruitful as we had hoped.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's okay.
We-
We're not so desperate, so to speak, as we were a few months ago, because Bill has is available to work, and he did work a few weeks ago. So it's just I think having multiple alternates is great, because it's fine if we schedule a vacation 2 weeks from now, but if someone calls in sick tomorrow, then we're scrambled a little bit.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
anyways, yeah, so let's move this to executive session at the end of the meeting. Okay, item number, after this, we were thrown in order of Hamilton Falls update on,
Yeah.
I think Tom and Andy met a few weeks back with
So
the,
we met with, it was Forest Parks and Recreation, had a group of people there, as well as a number of residents. Charlie was there, Amos was there, as well as someone from the Selectboard. And I don't have names, I'm sorry, of names, someone from the Wyndham Selectboard, someone from the Conservation Society. And I had a really good discussion about, obviously the issues up there. Oh, you were there, Bob, as well as Drew Hazelton from Rescue Inc. And so a lot of great discussions around, what can be done in the long term, what should be done in the short term. I made some recommendations about, like, could we put up some, more permanent barriers? Obviously, that changes the makeup of the remote, natural area. There was some talk about, putting maybe gates in farther down the road. So basically, the residents would have to type in a punch code certain times of the year to get past that point. But generally, those were rejected by the residents. They weren't really that excited about changing the makeup of the area, and I can understand that. Charlie went into the danger of it. I actually went up there this weekend just to check it out, and there was only 4 cars there, so I managed to get a spot. Talked to the sheriff a little bit. He said it was busy Saturday morning. They had a big rush. He's sending people back to the state park if they don't want to wait. They can wait for a parking space to open, but they can't leave their vehicle, or they can drive back to the state park. So that's the messaging that they're giving, and that was something that the residents had wanted to do. Basically, Forest and Recreation says they need to come up with a long-term plan. There was a lot of push from the residents saying really the only way that this is all going to work is if there's someone there watching, if it's police and making sure people comply. If it's police, if it's a park ranger, and that of course is expensive. And now that everything's been out on the social media, people are going to be coming up. And if you don't have a sheriff there or someone with some authority, they're just going to flaunt, they're going to say, oh, no parking sign. We're in the middle of nowhere. Who cares? Or we're pushing, they put these giant logs down. They push the logs out of the way and just park on the side of the road. So, for the short term, the sheriff's department is up there, and that, hopefully when it ges colder, that'll dissipate. But even when I was up there with just 4 or 5 people, I was looking around and I'm like, it's an extremely dangerous situation. I was talking to Greg before, saying, there was a young family there, and the kids were probably, 10, 11, 12, and they were just hanging around the top of the falls, climbing all around. And I'm like, one of them slips, they're going to fall 100 feet. And just the parents just didn't even see the danger in it. It was crazy. So, so that's really what's been decided at this point. Obviously, the Forest and Parks and Recreation is starting the process. They do want more public input. And we'll be connecting with us as well as Wyndham, as well as the residents, trying to determine what their best course of action is. And, again, they're looking at the long game. They're not looking at the next, 2 months or whatever. They're looking at how they can manage that site, keep it as a natural area, protect the water quality of the Cobb Brook, while at the same time allowing some access to the area. But there's other areas in the state as well that have had similar issues up by Stowe. So they do have other things to base any policy off of. It's not like they're starting from scratch. They've dealt with these types of things before, where areas are overused, or as Bob was saying, if there's an accident, you're talking about 45 minutes to an hour for emergency to get up there. And that doesn't bode well for a person who's internal bleeding or hurt really bad. So, like I say, for now, I think, like I said, they're going to continue to hire the sheriff's department. The deputy we talked to was great, and he's just like, yeah, he was turning people away. And he asked us, said, well, you guys going to hike around? We weren't going to. And then we decided to, I said, I want to go check it out. And he's like, well, there's a parking space. There's 4 spaces. You can park there. And then when we left, there were 2 cars waiting to get in. So it is being enforced, and hopefully it's better than it was. Obviously it's cooling off and there's not as many swimmers, but
I don't recall.
that's my update.
How long is the contract that they have with the sheriff's department?
It's open right now, I believe, until they're just going to play it by ear. If it's a weekend where it's busy, they'll go up in the morning and hang out. And if nobody's up there, obviously, if it's a rainy, cold day, not many people are probably going to head up that way. Right. This weekend, it was beautiful. So, he said there was a big rush from 10 to 12. Then that cleared out. We were there probably about 2. And then again, it looked like it was picking up again. So they're there all day on both weekend days. That's what the contract's for now. And again, it's open until it gets cold and people stop going up there.
Yep. Okay. Good.
One last thing, I did get a book here from John Beeman about it's the letters and stuff, and that's been sent by the residents. I didn't get over to the town office to get copies to everybody, but I'll bring this over, Sarah, sometime this week, and then you guys can figure out what we want to do with her, pass it around or whatever. But I think we've seen a lot of those. If the emails from Charlie had a lot of these emails embedded in them. So I think we've seen a lot of the stuff already, and we're aware of the issues and the crowding and threats and those types of things. It was pretty ugly, and hearing firsthand from the residents, it's a very ugly situation up there this summer. So let's hope we can get it under control, and again, we're willing. One of the things that Charlie has asked is if we want to rewrite our parking and our traffic / parking ordinance. And the goal there would be to, one, it's an extremely old ordinance. I think he said it's from 1956. So it's very outdated. It makes makes parking a criminal offense, which is very difficult to enforce in the courts versus a civil offense. So he has offered the select board to write the ordinance for us. And, he's obviously very knowledgeable. And, so that's something we should consider. And then he could give it to us and we could finish it. And the goal behind that is if we, let's say, had a $500 fine or something to that effect, and we put signs up that basically say, if you park in these no parking zones, it's a $500 fine. And if the sheriff catches him up there, he can give him a $500 fine.
Yep.
So, that's a pretty heavy fine and a pretty big deterrent. So that was one option, is to do that. And I support that too. It's something that we can do as a select board, and we probably should revisit the traffic ordinance if it's from 1956, I think. Or he said, I'm sorry, it was from he said from 1982 or something like that.
Yeah.
So it's still a number of 30-some years old. So we
Yeah,
probably
I think
should
that makes
revisit
sense to
that.
have him to ask him to draft up a
Yeah.
revised version of it. And even from the whole management plan of Pikes Fall, there's probably some things we can gain to institute into a management, not Pikes Falls, but from Hamilton Falls, we could,
From Hamilton Falls.
apply to Pikes Falls to, learn from this too. I mean, it's not going to be quite the same thing, but the parking ordinance makes sense in that regard too.
Well, I think you put signs up and say it's a fine, and if you're unlucky and the sheriff catches you, you're talking about a pretty hefty fine. So, and it's income for the town too. So, I mean, it's not. I mean, again, the goal is not to penalize people. The goal is to control the crowds and control the safety and make it a safe place to be, rather than a free for all.
Yeah,
And it's like I said.
Appropriate parking places,
Right.
at Hamilton Falls or anywhere, and then have this ordinance that applies to them.
Right. And that's what we really tried to present up there, is that, the select board, this is something where the select board has some teeth. We can't tell people not to drive up the road. We can't put in, I don't think we want to put in, barriers, permanent barriers, if for one, emergency vehicles can't turn around, but we can't put in permanent barriers if the residents don't want it up there. So I think this is something that we definitely can do. It has some teeth. We can work with the sheriff's department. And I think Charlie, like I say, is a great resource and understands the law and could really help us in getting at least started on that. So I would support that. I don't know if we need to make a motion to approve that, or, I think someone to, maybe Greg, you reach out to him and say, yeah, we'd be interested. I did print the traffic ordinance and it is extremely outdated.
Yeah.
So he's right.
Yeah, I'm not sure we need a motion on it. I'll gladly ask him, and he can draft up something, and then from that point, then we need to get more formal if, in the adoption process.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that makes sense.
Yeah, good. Okay, cool. I will do that.
Super.
Excellent.
Great. Thanks, Tom.
You're welcome.
Next item that we added on was an update from Paul on the local hazard mitigation plan.
Oh, we got the formal approval of our local hazard mitigation plan. We're good for another, 5 years. Basically, it's got to do with how much money we can get from the state. But anyway, just to let you know, all the little steps were followed. We're good to go for a while. We just got it the other day. So give you an idea how long it takes to get that done from
Yeah,
FEMA.
okay, good. Hopefully we never need it.
I hope so.
Yeah.
Please, we need it.
All right. Next item we threw on there was just a discussion surrounding Halloween, and do we want to be more proactive in some recommendations or any kind of that to that regard, I guess.
Well, I can start. I mean, obviously the fire department has decided not to be involved due to, risk of the whole crew contracting COVID. Obviously that's a safety issue. I have seen posts on Facebook from parents basically saying, we're going out, we don't care. I'll wipe down all my kids' candy, but my kid's gonna have a Halloween. And so people are gonna go out anyway. The question that we really ask ourselves is, do we want to formalize things, or, like you say, make recommendations? Like, if you don't want to participate in Halloween, turn your lights off at your house. Don't have everything lit up. Because people are going to come knocking on your door. If your house is dark, then that's typically what it's been anyway in the past. If your house is dark, you pass the house. And maybe give some safety recommendations to parents, saying, keep the social distancing. Don't have all the kids and the parents. Like, I've been in Jamaica, and the hordes of the people walk down the streets with all their costumes and stuff. So
I'm not sure we're ever going to be able to take anything, that has teeth in it to say you can't do this, but to have
right, of course not.
some safety guidelines and if someone's gonna say, I'm gonna do it no matter what, then there's no way we're stopping it.
Right, exactly. And I get, go ahead.
Yeah, I think one of the things that we as a board can do, as a town can do, is make suggestions that the people who'd like to not do it, but feel like they're being pressured to do it, have at least know we've got their backs and saying, we don't recommend it. We can't stop people from doing it, but we will support you if you turn your lights off. Basically that
Right.
kind of a concept. So we're supporting the people who are thinking, I'm on the fence, which way do I go? I think one of the things that I had a conversation today with the people, with Sarah and Terry about different kinds of things. And one of the points that they made was we ought not to be rewriting the state's position. We're talking about masks and stuff, but the reality is the state is recommending against it. I don't see that we need to get involved with chasing that one. We should be able to simply say, here's the state's recommendations. It's not recommended for all the reasons. And then at least we're supporting the people who may be feeling pressured to play the game, if that makes sense.
The other thing too, and I know Jamaica usually does evenings, but Halloween is on a Saturday this year. And we talked last meeting, I think Greg was here, but we talked about alternate events, things people could do, trying to encourage people, go out early, go out at 2 PM and have Halloween from 2 to 4 instead of from 6 to 8, So for one, it's just safer. And I don't know, that's something we can't necessarily control either. It's just communicating out that, hey, we're trying to get the village we're going to do it earlier this year because we can do it earlier and it won't be dark.
My experience with that is instead of going from 2 to 4, from 4 to 8, we go to 2 to 4, it becomes from 2 to 8.
Maybe. Yeah, but if people are shutting down, I don't know.
Yeah.
You're right. I hear what you're saying though. I hear what you're saying. It's generally 6 o'clock. That's when trick-or-treating starts in Jamaica.
At dusk.
When I had kids, that's what it was. You'd go down to Jamaica at 6 PM.
Yeah.
And it's dark by then in October, late October. So,
Yeah.
And you walk around and it's all kind of creepy and, but.
Yeah, I think we just, my thought would be just to make some general guidance and not rehash the state guidelines, but just to, reiterate, be safe. And like you said, if you don't want to participate, don't feel pressured to and turn off your light. But beyond that, I'm not 100% sure. Unless there's somebody out there who wants to try to script some programming that's going to be able to pull some people away to go do a drive-by haunted house or something. But I don't know we're going to get involved in that. Right.
And that was the thing. I met with, I had Ann Brower came over to my house the other night and we were sitting around chatting about it. And there isn't any body that's like, okay, we're the Halloween body, the Halloween committee in town.
Right.
It's a holiday that it's not, there isn't anything formalized, it's just, so who runs it? So who's going to run these extra events and who's going to do this? Is it some, so unless someone really steps up and says, yeah, I've got a lot of kids and I know a lot of kids' parents and I'm going to do this and I'm going to have a little party and it's going to be safe or whatever, there's no one to really do it.
Right.
And again, when we're talking about trick-or-treating, there's no one to really enforce it to say you can't do it or you can do it other than, so maybe what we could do is just put some things on the website. I could write up a little sheet. I could look at the state guidelines, create the sheet, put it up on the website as here's what we're recommending for Halloween. And then put some flyers out at Karen's and the post office and say, hey, go to the website and just so everybody's safe this year, go to the website and look at the guidelines we're recommending. We're not.
And each individual, each family, each parent is going to do what they feel comfortable with.
Exactly.
And if they feel comfortable and we don't, then we can't do anything about that either.
Okay. So I will do that. I'll volunteer to do that and I'll get that up early.
Okay.
I'll try to get, if I because Jackie was asking to put something in the newsletter and I'm like, we don't have any statement or anything. So I can say we're going to be putting something on the website and maybe put a link. I can make the link before that. So the link will be in the newsletter and then I'll just have it coming soon or something. And then I'll get it posted up there early October.
I don't know how formal we can be about it either. We don't want to lead up people's expectations that there's going to be something grand happening.
It's all recommendations. Like I say, we're not saying don't do it.
recommendations,
but
not
we're just
actually
saying, here's what here's what the state recommends,
Yeah,
not the
yeah,
town.
yeah.
So, okay.
Okay, yeah.
And do we want to, I mean, I'm not even gonna go time wise. I mean, I assume people just come at 6 o'clock. So that's kind of the tradition. I think it's gonna
Unless-
be tough to change that.
Well, technically, since we're not producing any of this, we really don't have a lot of control over what other people do.
Right.
I think you're right. I think if you just let it sort of develop as it always has, rather than trying to make changes or inflict some kind of structure to it, we're better off, they're better off.
I think you're right. I think, yeah, just again, if people, and again, everyone knows what the risks are, you know?
Yep.
And so,
Except, of
but
course-
it's just reiterating that with residents.
Except of course for Pikes Falls Road, which has now become a high-speed thoroughfare.
Racetrack.
Okay, that's good. Yeah, thanks. There was nothing more added onto the agenda. I think actually we'll circle back at one thing, Jessica, before you were on the meeting, the minutes from our special meeting in August, and I wasn't sure where you're at with those, and we haven't seen them, so I don't know that we're able to act on them, but.
Yeah, I should have realized that it being the holiday starting last night and today would make today difficult for me to participate. That was a miscalculation on my part, and I apologize. I have them, they're
that's fine.
drafted, they're one page, so I'll circulate them well in advance of the next meeting.
Yeah, I'd like to get those taken. I mean, certainly understandable about this, this weekend, but we'll look forward to get that wrapped up. And I think I think we covered everything. We moved around a little bit. Any comments at this point for item number 12? This on the timesheets or the pay orders. Terry has posted those up there.
Did they get posted today? Because I don't
Had
remember seeing them.
posted the pay orders last Friday, she said, and then the timesheets today. So they should be up there. And she's also done some I don't know, Googleizing of things that the more recent things will appear without having to dig. I know that's getting more and more cumbersome.
Right, it's kind of they're at the
Folders
top.
are set up.
Yeah, okay.
But they should be up there. I will plan to go in probably later this week to sign off on them. So if anybody sees any comments, questions, we can hold that or bring them to the next meeting.
I didn't have anything on the pay orders, but I didn't get a chance today to look at the timesheets.
Okay. Yeah, it wasn't anything out of the ordinary, but definitely look at it and let me know before I go in.
Okay. Will do.
Okay.
So any public concerns? I actually did have one public concern, but it's actually more for the board. There is a document that needs to be signed by at least 3 members of us to formalize Sarah, fill in if I can't think of it, but it basically formalize the process of us being eligible for town highway grants. So it just needs to be signed by 3 members of the board. I have signed it. That's all I believe it needs, but it's in the signature folder down in the office.
So
I could sign it Wednesday or Thursday, depending on when I'm not in range.
Yeah.
It'll be, I don't know, I'm working from home one day later this week.
Same.
Friday.
I could do it Thursday or Friday.
Okay. That was
Whoever gets to it
any
first.
other public concerns or comments?
Well, given that Joel dropped off, we only have Bob.
Yep. Okay. Yeah, and I don't know if that was an accident. Joel's off, but
No, I don't know who, anyway,
We're-
given that what's the language, guys? Given that we have a issue to talk about that could put
you're
member of the
making a
public-
motion
I'm making a motion
that
that,
discuss this issue
that-
would be perhaps,
go ahead, Paul.
I like the way you were going to do it. You're in the right direction.
Okay, so I'm making a motion that we need to discuss an issue that if discussed in public could put a member of the public at a disadvantage.
There we go.
Therefore, I make a motion to go into executive session.
I second that.
all in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay. Now,
And then what's the
I move-
second one?
yeah, you.
I
moved
move that we
forward.
go into executive session.
Exactly. I vote yes. I second it.
All in favor? Go into executive session.
Second
Aye.
session. Hi,
Aye.
Rich. Aye.
All right, I'm gonna pause the recording. We're online.
Okay, Jessica or Tom, do you want to make the motion? I don't have his full name to make the,
Go ahead, Jessica.
I do. Give me
I
one
don't
second.
either.
I got
Put my
it.
file away. Okay. So I make a motion that the select board offer to Darren Elliott the opportunity to train and see if he would be interested in being an alternate for our transfer station operator.
I'll second the motion.
Any
Any
discussion?
further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
No one opposed? Thank you. Perfect.
Great.
Motion carries.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Yeah, I gotta eat.
Me too.
Seconded by Paul and adjourned at
Adjourned.
8:28. Well
Thank
before
you.
10 o'clock. Thank you.
A full
Thank you.
hour and a
Before
half
10
better than
o'clock,
last
yes.
time. We had 10 o'clock last time, Greg. So
Oh, I know.
Yes.
We don't
All
want to.
right.
Thank
Good
you.
Good
night.
night, all.
Good night,
Good
everyone.
night.
anyway, thanks, guys.
Good night.